down. So one of the major causes of breaches has been as a result of ransomware. And we've seen those targets now being more targeted and tailored, especially in relation to the COVID-19. And so out of the 50% of those breaches and ransomware, they've been attacked essentially due to social engineering attacks and phishing email attacks. So cyber criminals are continuing to evolve their techniques and tactics with more innovation and sophistication. So definitely no organization is immune. So no organization is too small or too large to be a victim of an attack. So even in the Verizon data breach we saw in 2019, majority of attacks are happening either through hacking, social engineering attacks, malware, or user error. So that's really important to, as organizations go forward, they really look at doing security awareness training and education, as well as phishing testing of their employees, because your employees essentially can be your best line, your first line of defense at keeping the adversary at bay. So as we look at the new norm and some of the challenges that we're facing, so if you think about more people doing remote working, as well as the digital transformation, we've seen a lot of organizations that have, challenges. How do they take their entire workforce, even though they may have even had capabilities to do remote working, but how do they make it scale and how do they do it secure, especially for all the different types of workers they have in their environment. So you range from a general user that needs some just simple back-end office supports to your network admins and need a little bit more security, and all the way up to your executive level who has the highest level access to most sensitive data within your organization. In addition, with remote working, you have more devices than ever being connected into your network. And some of these devices are personally owned, so they may not be secure because they're the same devices that are being used at home by family member for doing things like surfing the net and playing games. And so with the increase in network traffic that you're seeing, it makes it more of a challenge for your security operations teams, because a lot of this traffic is now being generated external to your network. And so there's an increased chance of this traffic with potentially smaller resources and staffing. You have a higher risk of solutions or events falling through the cracks. And last but not least is what some of the defenses you should be looking for in the near term, and how can you keep maintain that cyber situation awareness to keep breaches at bay. So here are some technology strategies that you can look at. So first is speed and integration. When you think about the internet was built off of speed and connectivity. So when you're looking to build out your architectures, you really need to be looking at ruthlessly driving towards speed and integration within your architectures. So when you look at some of the remote working capabilities, many organizations had some of their capabilities in place, but what they found is they couldn't scale to accommodate their entire workforce. So when you look to build out your infrastructures, you really need to ensure that your solutions can scale and they have that security built in, because as technology and your business evolves over time, you want to be sure that your infrastructures can evolve with it over time. Next is authentication and automation. It's critically important to have that visibility of who and what is accessing your network. So when you think of things like network access control, you want to be able to ensure that you know what devices, users, and applications are connecting inside your network. And in addition, when you look at your privileged accounts, you got to ensure that when people are connecting into your networks, that they have the least privileges they need to do their jobs. Because an adversary is definitely going to be targeting, that's a crown jewel, is privileged accounts, because they can take those accounts and basically escalate and progress your network. In addition, looking at multi-factor authentication. Multi-factor authentication adds additional layer of security beyond just username and password, so that you can validate the identities going into your network. In addition, automation. Before the COVID-19 happened, 65% of organizations already said that they didn't have enough IT and security personnel. So you really need to be looking at automation to help with your protection, defense, and response. So when you think about your endpoints are often the most targeted for breaches from the adversary. So you really want to ensure that you have endpoint protection and EDR solutions in place so that you can quickly detect and mitigate responses at the endpoint. So before you have an attacker and adversary can expand farther into your network. Similar to in your security operations center, you really need to be looking at technologies like security orchestration, automation, and response. Because ultimately, you want to be able to do things at speed and scale, because a breach can happen in a matter of minutes. So being able to have automated responses or playbooks so that you can take courses of action, reduces the chance and the impact that you can have, a breach can have within your organization. Segmentation. Segmentation is important to consider because ultimately it can change the level of damage and depth and breadth that a breach can have within your organization. It minimizes their scope and also makes it easier to recover when you're dealing with a successful breach. So you really want to look at segmenting your external facing applications from your back end applications like your HR systems. And last but not least, leverage convergence. Networking and security can no longer be looking at separate domains. So a lot of organizations, because of the expanding perimeter, are looking at SD-WAN to manage their costs and gain efficiencies. So when you look at adding secure network management onto a next-gen firewall, it really provides you ease of maintenance, use, configuration, scalability, and it has that security built in. So similar to looking at your NOC and SOC, you can no longer differentiate when you're looking at events, whether it's due to performance, you're having a failure on a server, or you actually have a malicious activity happening on the event. So having that convergence between your NOC and SOC also helps you in doing some of that automation and speed of response. Same with your cyber and physical. Again, those two are very much integrated. So you should be looking to leverage and adopt that use of convergence. Thanks for joining today's session. If you have any more questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to the Fortinet team. Thanks.